Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog Election 2020 Special Edition here on the BuzzWeaver channel. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys. If you are a returning visitor and or a subscriber, I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support.
Before we get started, guys, if you are an Amazon Prime member or use Amazon frequently, you can help out the channel by placing your orders and using your Prime here on my Amazon influencer page. It's as simple as just putting in the item you're looking for up here in the search bar as you would on the landing page. Now, below it is just some of the items I have here in my shop, software of games that I play, controllers, equipment that I use for doing videos, and of course my supplements that I review here on the channel. So if you guys are Amazon members, please consider ordering on my influencer page. I want to thank the wonderful family that I met earlier today, who are Trump supporters and unfortunately had some of their signs stolen. Nonetheless, guys, I hope you have made it here to the channel. Thank you so much for your hospitality today. Now, we know that the mainstream media is aware that the president has several pathways to victory, including lawfare, and he is going to pursue it. So, of course, individuals like Benjamin Witt's here had to make an opinion piece with all his snarky comments, but we're going to take a look at partially what he's saying because he is part of the media narrative. How hard is it to overturn an American election, he says. And so it has come to this. The President of the United States is trying to overturn the results of a national election he unambiguously lost with a combination of petulant whining, spiteful, and flailing executive action and magic. Of course, none of that is factually correct, nor it has to be. He simply wants to mock the president. So if he does end up perhaps unfortunately losing, then he can have this to kick Trump in the side. No, it's not ultimately going to work, at least not if working is defined as allowing President Trump to maintain power in the face of expressed voter will. Okay, well, it's not in your power either, but of course you're going to give us your opinion nonetheless. Now, we're not going to sit here and go through his entire snarky comments, but I do want to point out here that he does go into some bullet points that are based in levels of fact. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on November the 10th publicly stated that there will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration, and this has the left seething, because you can see here, before chuckling and then stating that all the votes will be counted and the State Department would be ready for any outcome on January the 20th. Of course, Trump is trying to march or play out the clock until December the 14th. And here in the state of Georgia, they're doing the hand count now, and they have to be done by November the 20th. So, makes things very interesting. Now, Kayleigh McEnany, who has gotten a lot of heat from Twitter, says here, headline below is false. Twitter should flag, and they should. There are 234 pages of sworn affidavits alleging 60% of ballots in batch have same signature. January 1st, 1900 was recorded in poll book as date of birth for many not in book, so they could count ballots. All right. And here, of course, we have the Washington Post talking about poll watchers and affidavit and just kind of mocking the president as well. Now we go over here to the Hodge twins. And of course, they're saying, how ridiculous is this Facebook banner? And then it says, of course, that Joe Biden remains the projected winner of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Projection, of course, is not a legal claim to, the count being made and it being certified. So election officials say that voter fraud, which is historically rare, has not affected any outcome in this election. But how can you say that if you don't have the entire information? So again, going back to what Kayleigh was saying, why is this sort of information not being flagged? Down here, I responded by saying, I've noticed that social media platforms aren't putting disputes or edits on the posts made by the mainstream media who keep calling Joe Biden president-elect. That is factually incorrect. He is not the president-elect. And so they aren't getting disputes and edits put on their particular post. Votes aren't certified. Projections aren't legally binding. The bias is clear. All right, so without evidence, says the media here, the New York Times, there is no evidence of voter fraud, U.S. elections officials say. Really? Well, that's not entirely the process of exercising the Constitution by the president, because we have a list of the not evidence evidence right here in this 78-page lawsuit against the state of Michigan. So we have the information right here, but the media is going to continue to drive its narrative, say rather absurd and ridiculous things. As we can see here, we know the strategy by the mainstream media was to make Joe Biden the most popular kid in school. So if people weren't sure, they couldn't decide who they wanted to vote for, then they were going to make every effort they could to try to make Joe Biden look like he was the popular candidate. And the average that they were incorrect was negative 7.3%. Absolutely abysmal and terrible. Now, if we look here, now I spare no expense from the BuzzWeaver archive here from 2016, going way back. You can see here, coverage of Trump's first 60 days delivered greater share of negative assessments than coverage of previous presidents. And we can see here, Bill Clinton, he had 28% negative. Bush 28, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought he had more, but of course you got to keep in mind that all the presidents we've had pretty much since Reagan have been pretty much just riding out the presidency and just kind of going with the flow of the swamp and of course the dictates of the masses within the Democrats. So here Obama, 38% positive, 20% negative, and of course our main man Donald Trump with 62% within the first 60 days. The first 60 days. Oh man, they were so livid. They were so incredibly livid. And here we can see the most biased campaign coverage in history. This is by the Media Research Center. And you can see here all evaluative statements about former Vice President Joe Biden. 8 positive, 4 negative. President Trump, 34 positive, 634 negative. So then we come over here to Twitter, Facebook, face Rocky Future, post Donald Trump. It's important that everyone remember that Twitter was actually a failing platform until the president became president, and he started, of course, doing his typical sorts of tweeting. Now, I've not experienced any particular problems on my Facebook or Twitter thus far, other than people coming and mocking and making particular statements towards me in Twitter. But other than that, I'm not overly concerned because we have been actually dealing with this as creators or as conservative posters or moderates or green or even classic liberals are also a target of the mainstream media narrative. And there's no limit to what they will do and to pretty much interfere and disrupt our business. So here in the Sun, we have that YouTube went down yesterday. Now, October can be kind of a really strange month for YouTubers like us because for some reason every October there's some sort of I don't know whether YouTube, Google, Alphabet is doing changes to their servers. Maybe they're trying to get more servers or use less servers in October to save money. But usually this is around the time where a lot of the advertisers start advertising on our channels, and so actually our revenue starts to go up. But down the tube, YouTube down, site crashes worldwide as videos disappear, leaving users baffled. Now, I have seen some posts from various creators that they had lost as many as 500 subscribers during this, so I'm not entirely sure, but YouTube does do purges from time to time to get rid of, additional accounts, bot accounts and ghost accounts and things like that. If people aren't using them, then they're just eliminated from the process. And you can see the outage here took place mostly in the United States, up in the Northeast, interestingly enough, where Pennsylvania is, and some of the contested areas of Michigan and Wisconsin, where things are going on. It could potentially be Russian, the Chinese, DDoS. It's hard to really say. There's so many variables involved, and I don't want to go into any speculation or any conspiracy theories, but nonetheless, it did create a problem for us for about 2 hours yesterday. And as you can see here on the AP, Associated Press's site here, of course, they have always left the Biden at 290 and the president at 217, but Real Clear Politics today did revert it back, as you can see here, to 279 and Trump Pence 217. So unfortunately, it would appear that Real Clear Politics is feeling the pressure and the heat from the mainstream media. So going back here, some good news that we can talk about right now with some level of certainty is that the Republicans will maintain control of the Senate. This will be gigantic to keep Biden under control, because if he wants to try to stack the courts and do absurd things, I don't know. The House will really control whether or not we get back into the Paris Peace Accord. whether or not he'll try to reintroduce TPP, whether or not he'll try to change USMCA back to NAFTA. There's no telling what Biden is going to do, but he's a politician. What he says and what he does is two different things, whereas President Trump says he's going to do something and he just simply goes for it. So that's where we're sitting for right now, guys, and this is as much information I was able to compile for you today. Keep in mind that as of this recording, it is Thursday. There is no telling what could happen tomorrow on Friday upon release of the video because everything is happening so quickly and in real time. But nonetheless, guys, that is going to be the election coverage here from Studio B.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog, Election 2020 Special Edition. Thank you guys for the continued support, the likes, the shares, and the comments. And of course, below this video, there are the links to the various social media sites that I belong to where you are welcome to follow me there. And of course, appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon logo. Click on that to subscribe as well as notifications. That way you'll know when there's content here on the channel as well as the Friday vlog. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.